Hari Om, everybody. Today we start, as some commentators would call it, the third section of Bhagavad Gita. Some commentators divide Bhagavad Gita into three sections. Tvam Padam Shodhanam from chapter 1 to 6, Tat Padam Shodhanam from 7 to 12, and then Asi, the word Asi explained from 13 to 18. So when we have, now that we have completed two sections, let's try and do what is known as a Simhavalokan. Simhavalokan means, Simha means lion. The lion is the king of the jungle. And it is said that when he walks through his territory, his kingdom, periodically he looks back and he does avalokan. He sees the territory that he has covered. That's called Simhavalokan. So you look back. In modern terminology, I was thinking about this, it's like looking in the rear view mirror when you're driving. You don't look in the rear view mirror constantly. You're not supposed to. Driving rules. But driving rules do dictate that periodically you must take a quick glance at the mirror, at the rear view mirror, so that you know what kind of traffic is there behind you. And that is what we are now today going to do, because we have completed two sections. We have completed till chapter 12. So we take a quick look back at what we have studied so far. Beginning in chapter 1, we see a miserable Tvam Padam. What is starting from chapter 1 is the Tvam Padam Shodhanam, where Shodhanam means purification, because the same word is used in Tat Padam Shodhanam. So first 6 sections, it means purification. The next 6 chapters, it cannot mean Shodhanam because the purification of the pure self, that's not correct. So it means discovery or inquiry of the Tat Padam. So in the first chapter, we saw a miserable Tvam-pada who surrenders himself to Bhagavan at the beginning of chapter 2 and becomes a Jidnyasu Tvam-pada, where he asks a question. He asks Jidnyasu, he is now a Jidnyasu. He asks a question and Bhagavan gives him the knowledge from the highest standpoint, starting from the highest standpoint, and then going on to lower standpoints, also explaining, touching upon Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Gunas. And so that's how chapter 2 ends. But the Jidnyasu Tvam-pada doesn't understand. He doesn't understand the philosophy. And because of which a question is raised. So the reason that he does not understand it in the second chapter itself is because the mind is not yet ready, and therefore is born a Karma Yogi Tvam-pada. So in chapter 3, we saw the principles of Karma Yoga, and the principles are given for Karma Yoga to purify the mind. That is the way to purify. It is the means. Karma is the means to moksha, and the only means are to purify the mind. Whether you do it through karma or bhakti, it's up to you. But Bhagavan is giving him, because he's a karmi. Arjun is a karmi. He's on the path of karma. So Bhagavan gives him the principles of Karma Yogi. A Karma Yogi Tvam-pada is born. And in chapter 4, the protected Karma Yogi is born. Protected. He needs protection. Bhagavan says, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam. Now, sadhu there, of course, in the general meaning is sadhu, and we have seen that. But as far as the Karma Yogi Tvam-pada is concerned, when a Tvam-pada is walking this path, there are actually more people asking him, why are you doing it? Why are you? Many people have asked me, why are you doing it? What is all this, right? People have told me halfway through my course, they said, why don't you come back? Enough now. You've been there 6 months. It's enough. Come on back. So this Karma Yogi, when the person is walking this path of spirituality, which is, as it is very difficult, there are more people pulling you away. So if you can deal with the people outside, your own mind is your enemy. And your own mind tells you, it's the same thing that you're listening. What is there? Let's take a break. What? I know this all. I have read so much. When you start having these type of thoughts, know that your punya karma is coming to an end. And that punya karma needs to be protected. So it is not only a protection from other people, it is a protection from your own mind. And therefore, Bhagavan takes avatar. So when you're doing karma yoga and you're steadfast in your path, Bhagavan will come. He will help you. He will protect the Tvampada. So there is a protected Tvampada that is born in chapter 4. And then when the Tvampada remains on this path of karma yoga, he becomes a karma sannyasi Tvampada, where now the mind is extremely purified. Purification of the mind at this stage means no doership and no enjoyership. When the Tvampada reaches the state of karma sannyas, meditation is introduced. So there is a meditative Tvampada who is born in chapter 6. And he is instructed upon how meditation is to be done. So the external features of meditation are explained. However, what is the Tvampada supposed to meditate on has not been explained yet. So yes, meditate on me. Bhagavan said, meditate on me. But the question is, who is the me? Who are you? I don't know. I don't know your nature. You're asking me to meditate, but I don't know your nature. And therefore begins the discovery of the pure self in chapter 7, where in chapter 7, Bhagavan explains Tatpada, discovery of the self through Para, Apara, Prakriti, and Turiya. Tatpada is explained via Para, Apara, Prakriti. In chapter 8, the same Tatpada is explained through Kramamukti. And in chapter 9, Tatpada is explained. We are doing the inquiry into the Tatpada. We are doing the discovery of the Tatpada. In chapter 9, it is explained as created, creator, and Tatpada being beyond both. The creator and the creation, I am beyond both, says Bhagavan Shri Krishna in chapter 9. Then in chapter 10, he gives Tatpada Shodhanam is done through the vibhutis, external. In the mountains, I am Himalayas. In the trees, I'm this. In the rivers, I'm that. In Pandavas, I'm Dhananjaya, etc., etc., etc. Those whose minds are not yet that subtle, where the intellect has not yet become that subtle, he says, okay, no problem. You're still extroverted. Now try and discover the Tatpada in the external things in the world around you. And that is Tatpada Shodhanam through the gross world, through his vibhutis in chapter 10. And in chapter 11, through his Virat Roop. In chapter 7, he had said, they are in me, I am not in them. And they are in me. He shows it to Arjun through his Virat Roop, where in the Virat Roop, Arjun sees everything. He sees the war, he sees the end of the war, he sees the deaths, he sees everything. He sees himself winning. Everything Bhagavan shows him, the past, present, and future, proving to him. He said that they are in me. It's actually physically shown. Tatpada Shodhanam through his Virat Rupa, and finally culminating in Bhakti, through Bhakti. Tatpada Shodhanam through Bhakti Yoga in chapter 12. That's how much we have completed. Now in chapter 12, but a question was asked, which is better, Nirgun Nirakar Upasana or Sagun Sakar? And Bhagavan in his diplomatic way has given a reply saying both of them reach me. Whoever is doing Sagun Sakar Upasana, whoever is doing Nirgun Nirakar Upasana, the goal is me only. Ultimately, they both come to me. And then he goes on to say that Nirgun Nirakar Upasana is difficult for the one who is embodied, who is the embodied one, means who thinks of himself to be the body. Nirgun Nirakar Upasana is difficult. Sagun Sakar is easy. But he did not explain in chapter 12 how one goes from worshipping Sagun Sakar to worshipping Nirgun Nirakar. That middle part he has not explained, and therefore begins chapter 13 to explain that journey from Sagun Sakar to Nirgun Nirakar, which he did not explain. Another thing that he said in chapter 12 was, those who are very devoted to me, Tesham Aham Samudharta. I lift them from this ocean of sansar. But he never said how. We explained that, okay, that is not a physical lifting. It is a giving of knowledge by which the devotee gets lifted up from this ocean of sansar. But he never gave that knowledge. And to give that knowledge now begins chapter 13. That is the Sambandha Bhasha. That is, what is the connection? So he never explained. He didn't explain. We said he gives the knowledge. Okay, now what knowledge is that? He didn't give any knowledge. So begins chapter 13. Then Nirgun Nirakar Upasana was explained only in 2 verses, 3 and 4. And he said this is very difficult. If you look at Sagun Sakar, he is from 8 to 12, verse 8 to 12. He has given the complete sadhana, the complete effort is given there, starting with Mai Mana Adhatsva. Put your mind in me. And then the devotee says, that's very difficult. So he says, then do Abhyas Yoga, practice. Practice? I'm so busy at work. I've got so many deadlines. I have no time for practice. He says, okay, you are so much into work. Offer that work to me. How do I do that, Bhagavan? Even that I cannot do. This is okay, finally, then the karma phala tyaga you do. Because in that karma phala tyaga is permanent shanti, peace. So the method of doing Sagun Sakar was explained clearly, whereas the method of doing Nirgun Nirakar Upasana, he never explained. He only said it is very difficult for the embodied one. So Arjun, you do Sagun Sakar. It was like an indirect hint to Arjun. But he didn't explain. And so to explain how to do that, how to get to those verse number 3 and 4, how to do the Upasana of Nirgun Nirakar Brahman, extremely difficult, begins chapter 13. And therefore chapter 13, which is the inauguration of the explanation of the word Asi, the oneness between Jiva and Brahma, is just strictly Jnana Yoga, strictly, because now we are not going to use the book, we are not going to use anything, we are only going to do Mananam. And that now finally it becomes, so far what we were doing, what were we doing? We were studying the chapters. And we thought, some people think Chinmaya mission is a knowledge. That means if I join Chinmaya mission, I'm in the Jnana Yoga. We are not. We were in Karma Yoga. We were listening, I was talking, you were listening. This is. So now begins this chapter. Therefore, this chapter is very important. The word Asi will be explained from now on. And like some commentators say from 6 to 18, but actually 13 to 18. Actually, it's only 13. In 13, Kshetrajna Yoga, through that he will explain. 14, he will give the characteristics of the Gunatita Purusha, which are exactly similar to the Bhakti Lakshana given in chapter 12 and to the Sthita Prajna Lakshana given in chapter 2. So Sthita Prajna Lakshana, which is through knowledge, Jnana, Bhakti Lakshana through Bhakti, and Gunatita Purusha through Karma, indicating to us that the goal of the Jnana Marga, the Bhakti Marga, and the Karma Marga, all of them, you will reach the same supreme reality. You will reach Tatpada. So there is no difference in the paths. There is difference in the people. That's why the 3 paths are there. People are of different temperaments. So the people have to follow, pick out. That's why it's self-analysis. You see what you are capable of doing, what you like. You like to do work, you like to just love God, or you want to now think. And this is where the thinking is actually coming in. Are you capable of thinking in the way that now Bhagavan is going to explain in chapter 13? Then you're capable of doing Jnana Marga. If not, you must stick to karma. because if this, and in this chapter, okay, before I go into that, and then in 15, he gives the complete Shastra. And actually the teaching, the teaching of Bhagavad Gita is over in chapter 15. 16, 17, 18 are just, 16 and 17 are totally at the transactional level, what qualities we should develop and all that. And 18 is a summary of all that was there in the 17 chapters. So actual teaching ends at 15. That's why in 15, we have studied it all. But if we have not yet realized the truth, we need 16. That means there's whatever is told in 16 is lacking. So we need to practice that, but that's further. We'll get to it when we get to it. So this chapter 13 now, we begin. As we all know, Bhagavad Gita in the Mahabharata has got only 700 verses. And the first verse of this chapter here that is in our books is not there in the original Bhagavad Gita. And therefore, Bhagavan Shankaracharya's commentary is also not there in this verse, on this verse, because it wasn't there when he commented. Madhusudan Saraswati ji, it is an interpolation. That is what it's called. It's an interpolation. It's an interpolated verse. A verse was added into the Bhagavad Gita afterwards in the 14th century by Madhusudan Saraswati ji, who wrote the Gita Dhyana shlokas as well as the Pushpikas. So at the end of each chapter, when we say Atha Panchadasha Dhyaya or whatever, that Pushpika is there, that Dhyana shloka and this verse, this was done by Madhusudan Saraswati ji. They are not original Mahabharata, just like even Narad Bhakti Sutra. It's just one verse after the other, one verse after the other. So there is just 1 to 700 actually, whatever the number in that thing. There are 100,000 verses in the Mahabharata. So in the middle, in the, I think Bhishma Parva, Shanti Parva, I think it comes. So wherever it is there in the middle, it just states 700 verses. However, this is a commentary written by Gurudev, and he has accepted this verse. There are some masters who do not accept this verse, okay? So if you read some of their commentaries, they will not mention this verse at all. They don't recognize it. But we are not following other masters, we are following Gurudev, and Gurudev has included this. So he has written a little commentary, he has included, so we accept it. And therefore, when we say 701 verses, but actually if somebody says, no, there are only 700 verses, that is also correct. So we must not argue about such things. So the first verse, we begin today. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Atha Trayodashodhyayah. Arjuna Vacha. Prakrutim Purusham Chaiva. Kshetra Kshetrajnameva Cha. Etat Veditumicchami. Jnanam Neyam Cha Keshava. Arjuna said, Prakriti, matter, and Purusha, spirit, also the Kshetra, the field, and Kshetrajna, the knower of the field, knowledge, and that which ought to be known, these I wish to learn, O Keshava. Arjuna, Arjanat Arjuna. So Arjuna means a straightforward person. We have seen many questions he has asked in the Bhagavad Gita. And there are many reasons why a question can be asked. It can be an objection to what is being said. No, how do you say that? It can show, it can be an indication, is trying to see how much the teacher knows. Let me ask this question. Or it can also be, let me show other people in the class how much I know. So I ask a question. But because Arjuna is the meaning, he's a very straightforward person. All his questions so far have been out of a confusion, out of a desire to know, not to, of course, obviously there was nobody else around him. He was the only one that Bhagwan was giving the lecture to. So there's no question of showing other people how much he knew. That wasn't there at all. But it wasn't also to find out how much Bhagwan knows, because he has accepted Bhagwan as his teacher. So his questions are, there is no guileless, there's no guile, there's no ulterior motive. It's just I want to know Bhagwan. And that's why now he's asking this question, where there are three pairs of opposites, it appears to have three pairs of opposites that he's asking. Prakriti and Purusha is the first one. Prakriti, matter, Purusha, spirit. That is the first pair of opposites or whatever. Kshetra and Kshetrajna, the field and the knower of the field. Etat Vedu, I want to know this, also Jnanam and Niyam. So that is the third pair. So Prakriti, Purusha, Kshetra, Kshetrajna, and Jnanam, Niyam. Though it appears to be three pairs, it's actually only one pair, because Prakriti, Kshetra, and Jnanam, they are one, they're synonyms. That's the same. And then Purusha, Kshetrajna, and Niyam. Jnana, knowledge, Niyam, that which is to be known. So Niyam is Tatpada. Purusha is also Tatpada. And Kshetrajna also is Tatpada. So there's one and the same. So even though it appears that there are three pairs, there's actually only one pair. And Bhagwan is going to choose to explain Kshetra and Kshetrajna. And then he's going to also bring in Purusha and Prakriti. See, there is also, we have heard the word Brahman and Maya, Purusha and Prakriti. The reason, when there are different, easiest way of explaining is this, there is a person, there is a person standing in front of her children, she becomes a mother. And standing in front of her parents, she becomes a daughter. And then she's standing in front of her friends, and then she becomes a friend. She's standing in front of a boss, she becomes an employee. She's standing in front of an employee, she becomes an employer. So the same person with relationship to different people appears different. It's the same person. But she is a mother also, then sometimes she's appearing as a daughter, she's appearing as a boss, she's appearing as an employee, she's appearing as a team person, she's appearing as a team leader. That way, Brahman and Maya, Brahman is to indicate the complete pure self, non-doer. Absolutely. So when we talk of Brahman, we cannot talk of creation. We cannot talk of creation. There is no creation when we use the word Brahman. So creation though is there because I see the creation. So then what happens is, then we bring Purusha into this thing. We say it's Purusha here means not here, but Purusha, then we bring the concept of Ishvara in between. So when creation is explained, it is explained as Purusha and Prakriti, Ishvara and Maya. When Maya is invoked by Brahman, he is known as Ishvara, and therefore it is different. And Kshetra and Kshetrajna, it's the same things that is being explained. Okay, understand it that way. And Neyam is, that is what is to be known in this world is only Tatpada. Why? There is nothing other than Tatpada. There is nothing, and we'll see that. And this is why these three pairs of opposites should not be taken as three different ones. It is only one pair. And now Bhagwan is going to explain Kshetra and Kshetrajna. And now we are going to do the inquiry. Verse 2 and verse 3 are the most important verses in this chapter. And if you can grasp these, the rest is a piece of cake. It's literally a piece, especially for this class. It was not a piece of cake for my other class when I did it in the Monday class, but this class, it should be very, very easy. But the first two need to be understood correctly. So let's go on. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Before I go, I'm sorry, Keshava word is used here. Bhagwan, for Bhagwan, Arjuna. Keshava is one who emits light. So indicating that you know, you have the knowledge of this, Bhagwan. So now you tell me. Okay, that's the load of the word Keshava. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha idam shariram kaunteya kshetramitya bhidiyate etadyo veti tam prahuhu kshetrajna iti tadvidaha. The Blessed Lord said, this body, O Kaunteya, son of Kunti, is called the field. He who knows it, body, is called Kshetrajna, the knower of the field, by those who know of them, Kshetra and Kshetrajna, that is by the sages. So 3 words are the key words in this verse. One is Kshetra, one is Kshetrajna, and the third word is Idam. These 3 words have to be understood correctly. So we start with Kaunteya. Kaunteya is a word used for Arjun. He's calling Kaunteya, son of Kunti. Gurudev would have said, Kunti ke bete, the son of Kunti. The word Kunti, Kunt comes from Kunt. Kunta means very sharp. So Kunti, this mother of the Pandavas, was considered as a very intelligent woman in her in her times, like Gargi, Maitri, she was considered very intelligent, of very sharp intellect. So by calling him Kaunteya here, Bhagwan is telling him, reminding him, you are of sharp intellect. What is a sharp intellect? Sharp intellect is one which is a very subtle intellect. And a subtle intellect is required for this knowledge because this knowledge is very subtle. There are 2 types of intellects. One is a gross intellect, one is a subtle intellect. The gross intellect is one which will go out into the outside, but there are people who know how the funds are doing and how this stock is working and that stock is, and stock market up and down. Anything to do with material prosperity, the gross intellect, if the person is that, some people are not that intelligent also, but those who are intelligent will know what is happening in the world, what is happening here, politically, what is happening, what is that one doing, what is that country doing, what is this, that, etc., etc., etc. But the Vedantic knowledge is a subjective knowledge. It is a knowledge which is very subtle. And to know the subtle knowledge, a gross intellect is of no use. Just like an axe is no use to shave a beard, but a blade is no use to cut a tree. Axe for the tree, blade for the beard, same way. Sharp intellect for this knowledge, for spiritual knowledge, and gross intellect for material prosperity. Both are required actually. But here we need, and therefore Bhagwan is reminding him, how do I get a sharp intellect? By purifying the mind. You cannot touch the intellect. So if you want a subtle intellect, the mind has to be extremely purified. Therefore, we have a karma sannyasi tvam there. Purified mind. Okay? Which karma sannyasi he has become through karma yoga. So you cannot become a karma sannyasi unless you have done karma yoga. So karma yoga becomes the foundation to reach this. Because now we are going to do only thinking. All right. That's the load of the word Kaunteya. Shariram, Kshetra. So what he has said here is, Idam Shariram Kshetram iti abhidiyate. This body, this Sharira is known as Kshetra. So we need to understand what he means by Kshetra. Sharira here he has said, and how many Shariras do we know? 3. Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira. He has only used the word Sharira, which indicates to us that he means all 3 bodies. The gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body. Number 1 point. Okay? Now, Kshetra. Sharanat Kshetra. The break of the word Kshetra. Kshetra has 3 meanings. Sharanat Kshetra. Sharanat, from which things ooze out. That's one meaning. Second meaning. Kshiyate ti Kshetra. That which decays, which diseases, which changes, which modifies, that is Kshetra. And the ordinary meaning of Kshetra is field, like Gurudev has translated here, field. What is a field? What do I do in the field? I have my backyard, that is also a field. A field is a place where I sow seeds. And those seeds sprout to give me results. That's why it is a field. So if I plant a mango seed, I will get a mango. fruit. If I plant a chili seed, I will get a chili seed. So field is a place where the farmer or a person, you may have your own backyards where you're putting in flower seeds, you'll get flowers. So that's the meaning of field. Now, Bhagwan is calling Sharira, body, as Kshetra. So this body has to now meet these definitions, at least all three or at least one. So the first definition was a thing from which things are oozing out. Look at your own body. You don't need a book. That's why this is jnana. Do you need a book? Look at your own body. Eyes, tears are running. Nose, go for a walk in the cold. You'll know what means by nose is running. Saliva, mouth is watering. Sweat, go to the gym. You'll know what sweat is oozing out of the body. You just have a little cut. Blood is oozing out of the body. Let the cut get infected. Pus is oozing out of the body. Do I need to go any further? I do. Do you need a book to tell you this? Do you need scriptures to tell you this? This is pure jnana, this pure knowledge, where nothing else is required. There's no support. You do analysis, you tell me, oh, from my body, nothing oozes out. Okay, then this is false. But it's Bhagwan's words. Lord of the word Bhagwan, as you know, in the past, in the present, and in the future, they will always be true. And they will be true for everybody across the board. Who is there any one person in this entire universe who can say nothing oozes out of my body, Baba? I don't cry, I don't sweat, my nose doesn't run, there is no saliva in my mouth. Can't. Okay, next. Kshiyate tat kshetra, that which is decaying, that which is changing, that which is modifying. Is there any one of us that can say, the day I was born, same body I have today? Claim that. Make Bhagwan false. Think, self-analyze. Look at your own body. Tell me, my body has not changed. Can't. Then, the third meaning, where a seed is planted, the body, through the body, this jiva is planting seeds of karma. And if it is a good karma, good result will come. If it is a bad karma, bad result will come. So the good karma gives rise, that is the genesis. Good karma will give rise to what is known as punya, merit. That merit, when it fructifies, will give you an experience which will make you happy. And then when the bad karma that is put, and karma by itself is never good or bad, it is the attitude behind that karma which determines whether that karma is good or bad. And so the bad karma gives rise to what is known as papa, demerit. And that demerit then fructifies into an experience which will give you dukkha. So these karmas we are sowing through the body, because the body is doing the action. It is willed by the mind, desired by the mind, but the actual action is coming out of the body. So that's why body becomes a field where the seeds of action are planted. And that same body or a different body has to be taken birth. That's why the jiva takes birth to exhaust all those results. Because somebody has to be there to enjoy or suffer the result, to experience the result. Experience includes both enjoyment and suffering. So the experiencer is the one who has planted the seeds. And therefore this Sharira is known, Bhagwan is calling it as a Kshetra, as a field. So if we take the three bodies, gross and subtle and causal, gross body is this, all three are applying to gross body because the things are oozing out of the gross body. Because you see, if you're really thinking, you can think, but nothing oozes out of my mind. So how this applies to the subtle body? If you're thinking, I don't know how many of you thought of this. This is what I was thinking. And I thought, wait a minute, but nothing is gross body. Yes, things are oozing out. Gross body is decay. So all three definitions of kshetra apply to the gross body. And then through the body, we are planting seeds of karma. So all three apply. But, okay, things are not oozing out of the mind, but is not your mind changing? Can anybody claim that, I loved marbles and dolls when I was, even today I play with my marbles and my dolls. Has not your mind changed? Doesn't fit the definition. The subtle body fits the definition there of kshetra, that the kshetra is one that modifies, and the mind is modified. Causal body also has modified. How do I know that? Because my mind modified. So I know the causal body has modified. Because unless it is in the vasana, the desire cannot come as a thought. So if I still have, as a child, I may have played with dolls. And if I still have those vasanas, I will want to play with dolls even today. But I don't. There are so many things in my childhood that I liked, food-wise or whatever, and so many things that I didn't like. So that was in my vasanas that time. But now I like those that I didn't like, I like. What I liked, I don't like, which means the vasana has changed. Though I cannot see directly my vasana, through my thought, I see that. And therefore it fits the definition. The subtle and the causal bodies fit the definition of this change, modification. And therefore they are kshetra. Bhagwan has said it. Bhagwan's words cannot be. We only have to think. We only have to think. No book is required for this. No book is required. Now, next question.
And also, Jayaji, can we say the thoughts in the mind are the seeds?
Thought in the mind cannot be a seed unless it is acted upon. There is a thought of planting a seed in the field, but I don't plant it.
But
you require the cross body to plant that seed actually.
But somewhere in Gita, he says even that thought should be controlled, right?
Because unless you control the thought, the action cannot be controlled. That's why. That's why thought has to be controlled. Mind has to be purified. Purified mind is a controlled thought. What is a thought control? Purified mind. Because only from a purified mind, from a sattvic mind, can come out sattvic thoughts and sattvic actions. Otherwise, they're rajasic. Okay. So
what do you say when you have a thought which is not translated into action?
Okay. Listen to chapter 3. That's where all this thing is already explained.
Okay.
If you have a thought, you don't, you're a mithyachari. Bhagavan says that. You're a hypocrite. You have a desire, but you don't act, you're a hypocrite. So if you have a desire and you act, you're a karmi. So you will get attached to that. Your mind will not get purified. And if you want to be on the spiritual path, you have a desire, you work for it, but not for fulfillment of desire, but for purification of your own mind. All of you should listen to chapter 3. It's on YouTube. So all these things will be this. See, we have done 12 chapters. All these points have to be very clear. This is a senior class. If I keep going back all the time, which I do in the other classes. Okay. All right, let's continue. Now, Kshetrajna is the knower of the field. How do I know the field? What are the methods? How many ways are there to know the field? There are 3 ways to know the field. One is the natural way. Naturally, don't I know that my body at birth was definitely different from my body today? Naturally, I know that. Did your mom have to tell you? Or your older siblings told you, at birth, you were totally different. You look different. And today you're looking different. Or do you know it yourself? No need of book. No need of anybody else. You know, naturally. The second way of knowing the body is by upadesha or advice. Who gives us advice? In the material world, of course, There are many people around us giving us advice. Forget them. Doctor gives us advice, right? Your A1C is high. Don't eat sugar. Your blood pressure is going through the roof. Stop eating salt. This is how you're getting overweight. Reduce weight. This is happening to your heart. That is happening to your cholesterol. There is an advice for the body, gross body, from your doctor. And then there is an advice for your gross body from the spiritual master. What is the difference? And if you're wondering where exactly spiritual master has given us advice, please read Vivek Chudamani. Okay? Verses, and I think Leela should remember this. How many verses Bhagavan Shankaracharya has spent on the body is amazing. Many verses. Just yesterday, the verse said, please know that this body is a foul-smelling corpse. These are the words, translated. Read in Vivek Chudamani. Gurudev's translation of that verse. Body is a foul-smelling corpse. Bhagavan Shankaracharya's words. Now, why? Why? We need to think. This is thinking. When the doctor advises us, the doctor is asking us to keep the body healthy. Why? Because he says you can live a long life this way by keeping the body healthy, and you can enjoy life and you can indulge in life. So the doctor's advice for the body is for us to remain healthy, to enjoy, to experience. Whereas when the spiritual master advises us of the body, it is to gain dispassion. And that's why such severe words are used. Bhagavan Shankaracharya's words are very, very, very severe. Vivek Chudamani. And Gurudev said it's a bag of garbage only. Straight, he said in his lecture, if you listen to Vivek Chudamani of Gurudev, these are his words. It's a bag of garbage. And that garbage bag, he said, we put makeup, we put lipstick, we put eyeliner, and we make it very beautiful. Think about it. If the skin were to be removed from the body, would anybody look at us? Your most loving wife, your most loving husband, God, I don't want to look at you. Bhagavan has done us a favor by giving us this epidermis, the skin. And there are doctors in that class. And I asked the doctors, do you think it's real? And they said, yeah, that's correct. You remove the skin, nobody's going to look at you. Is that ugly, the body? But, whoa, I'm the body. So advice. So one way of knowing is advice. So there is an advice by the doctor. There is an advice by the spiritual master. It's up to us whom we want to follow. That is how we know. We know. But how do I know? How do I become the kshetrajna of the kshetra? We have determined the kshetra is the body. How do I know that, right? That is one way. The third way is by experience. This experience is for the subtle body. See, nobody else knows myself. First of all, I know my own thoughts. So and then it is my experience, my own experience, that my thoughts have changed. That is experience. So these are the ways by which we know this sharira, this body, all three bodies. Sharira word only is used. It's not stula shariram, idam tu sulam shariram is not used. Idam shariram. Okay? So all three bodies included. These are the three ways in which I come to know this body. The next word that needs to be known and is very important is idam. Idam word. Now, anybody remembers where we heard this word idam? In which text? By another great master?
Raman Maharshi.
Very good. Excellent. Excellent. In Updesh Sar, Bhagwan, and there also it comes in the Jnana Marga. Remember, it's only thought. So far, whatever that I've told you, tell me, do you need a book? Or do you know yourself? No support of book, no, only your own support, only thinking you have to do. The master has to just give us a direction. If we can continue with this thought, we are on the path of knowledge. Only if we can continue. If we can't, do karma, do bhakti, whatever. Okay? So, aham and idam in Updeshar, Bhagavan Raman Maharshi said, there are only two kinds of thoughts. There is the aham thought and the idam thought. You can go back after this lecture and Read verse 17 of Updeshsar. And that the idam thought is dependent on the aham thought, and therefore the idam thought should never be thought of, because it's a dependent thought. It is false. So what is real is only aham, and only aham is to be thought of. That's how he had put aham and idam over there. Now let's see, here also Bhagavan has used the word idam. What is idam? Idam literally translated is this, because you see this body, O Kaunteya, this. So idam means this, sharira means body. So this, what is this? What is this? So the definition of this is, this is something which is seen, number one. So I'll tell you in Sanskrit, and then I'll translate it into English. Yad drishyam, drishyam is seen, okay? Idam is, this is the definition. This is the, like, you know, you have a law of gravity, right? So anywhere on this earth you go and you throw a ball up, it has to come down. There is no ifs and buts about it. So this idam, this is the law. What is the law? Idam is yat drishyam tat jadam. That's the law. Yat jadam tat vikari. Yat vikari tat mithya. So the translation is, whatever is seen is inert. Whatever is inert is changing. Vikari, changing. Whatever is changing is mithya. Mithya, that which cannot be same in the three periods of time. This is the law. This is the definition. This doesn't change, no matter what it is. So when it is said that idam shariram, and shariram is all three. So if all three shariras are falling are idam, then all this has to apply to them. So idam yadrisham, we know, we can see all three. If it is seen, it is inert. That means what? Gross, subtle, and causal bodies all are inert. Thinking, no book required, the definition, okay? If it is inert, it is changing. We already said body is changing, thoughts are changing, vasanas are changing. And if it is changing, it is mithya, it is false. This is the most important thing. That is the definition of idam. Now, as opposed to idam, as opposed to this, kshetra is idam. So kshetrajna has to be something different than kshetra. Obviously, because Bhagavan said it is field, and the knower, the field and knower have to be different. Has to be. So what is the knower then? Knower has to be opposite of this definition. So yat drishyam becomes yat drishta. The seen, whatever is seen, becomes that which is that who is the seer. So yat drishyam tat jadam, jadam becomes chetan here. So the seer has to be sentient, has to be. That's the law. Because the drishyam, the seen is inert, then the seer, if it is inert, then what is the difference between seer and seen? There cannot be any difference. So it has to be chetan, has to be. There's no choice. It has to be chetan. Okay, what is inert is changing. So what is chetan cannot be changing, because if it is changing, it will become inert. So it cannot change. It is changeless. And what is changeless has to be real. And like I use the word nowadays, really real. Because I think, okay, but computer is real, you're talking, I'm listening, all that is real only, world is real, rain is real, snow is real. What do you mean really? Really real is that which does not change in the three periods of time. So what in this world has not changed? So if you say snow is real, is there snow today? It was there in December or whenever. There was rain yesterday. Was the rain real? The sky is blue. Is the sky real? Is the blueness real in the sky? So mithya and real, that is the difference. Mithya is that which changes in the three periods of time. It is experienced but changes in the three period of time. And because it is experienced, I think that it is real. But if I think that who is the experiencer of that experience, like Gurudev would say, the experiencer itself is false. The experiencer is false. How can the experience be real? Think. Think. This is what Gurudev would say. Think. Think. Pure Jnana Marga. Now we have entered after 12 chapters. So, is this clear? That which is seen is inert. This is the law, okay? Law, like law of gravity. So don't say why, how, this, that. No, this is the law. It is inert. What is inert will change. Look at, you just have any object in the house, your own body. Hasn't it changed? Okay, forget the body. You know, I was saying microwave. After 10 years, your microwave doesn't, I have a very old microwave, you know, and then I used to put my cup of milk there for like 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes like that to warm it up. Then I got a new one, you know, and I put for 1 and whoosh, the whole milk started outpouring. And then I thought, oh, how come? And then I realized that microwave was 10 years old. So you think it is the same microwave, but it has changed. The power changed. Did electricity change? Electricity didn't become weak. The upadhi became weak. It changed because it was inert. And that electricity is also inert, okay? So don't think like that. But so that which is seen is inert, and that which is inert will change. You just leave it there. Stones, when water keeps flowing, they get smoother, right? The stones are also changing. It's inert, it's changing. And then that is mithya. And that's why it is mithya, because what it was yesterday, like my microwave, it's mithya. You know why? Because on the first day, at 1.5 minutes, the milk spilled over, but after 10th year, it was, after 2 minutes also, it wasn't spilling over. So it has changed. That's what's mithya. As opposed to this is the kshetrajna, the knower of the field, who is the drashta, the seer. And because it is the seer, he cannot be inert. He is chetan, he's sentient, he's conscious. And because he's sentient, he is unchanging. And because he's unchanging, he is really real. He is the one that does not change in the 3 periods of time. And that is what kshetrajna is. So we'll stop here. There is a lot more to this verse. This 2 and 3 are the ones. That's it. After that, it's going to go real quick, especially for you guys. It should. It should. If I were to tell you, I'm not going to advise anybody, read Tattva Bodh. Then the rest of it will be that, very easy. It'll take only half an hour to 1 hour. Tattva Bodh, Guruji's commentary will only take you that much time. And if you want to refer Upadesh Sar for the Ahamidam differentiation. But there it's a thought. It's the idea, the principle is exactly the same there and here. Okay. Any questions?
Yes, you mentioned that seeds are sown by the body through action, but we have also learned that there are 3 kinds of action, right? So namely Kayikam, Manasam and Vachikam, 3 kind of karmas. But the Manasam there, where does it belong? Is it still considered a bodily action? Or does it belong in the
it is considered as an action because it is going to give you a result. What is an action? What is the definition of action? That you have to know. Before you can consider anything to be an action, what is an action? So again, there are 2 words there. There is what is known as kriya and there is what is known as karma. Okay. So kriya is, you know, when in the sleep, I kick somebody sleeping next to me or I talk. Okay. That is kriya. It doesn't bind. It is not an action.
No, there is no door there.
Yeah. Action is defined as something which binds. What is it binding you to? To future births. Okay. So when you do speech, if I swear at somebody in my sleep, it is kriya, but in my waking state, if I say you are this and this, it is an action. It's a vachik speech because it has bound me. Okay. And if it is a mentally, that's why we say even mentally don't try to hurt anybody. But in my mind, if I bear hatred towards, I hope he has an accident. I hope he does that. I hope he did. If I continue, it is an action. It will bind me. But suppose if I dream that this person, got good, then that dream is not binding me. There's no doership. So that's why these three types of actions, anything that binds is falling under action. Otherwise, it is not an action. That's why you need, this is all elaborated in chapter 3. Okay, it's there. So we will continue with this verse, and then we'll go into the next verse, because we need to understand even more now now we have understood the definition of Kshetrajna. Now, who is this Kshetrajna is to be understood. Because if you ask me, I'm going to say, yeah, I know my body. So I am Kshetrajna. So the point is, who is that I that you think is Kshetrajna? You think so that needs to be understood, and we will continue with that next week. So if there are no further questions. Any questions? Yeah.
I have a question. Under the subtle mind and the causal body, and the causal body, it is explained as fixed modification of the mind. Right? You mentioned that,
but that's the subtle body. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So in the subtle mind, the thought, it's the thoughts in our mind, and like the worldly thoughts, is it?
Any
thoughts.
Could be thought of Bhagavan.
All right. And the causal body, the thought is much purified?
Subtle, not purified, subtle. It's very, very subtle to an extent where, thought in the mind, I know. You don't know my thoughts, but I know, my own, my body, everybody sees. I see, others see. My mind, I see, others don't see. My vasanas, I don't see, others don't see. That's how it is.
That's the causal
body. Vasana is causal body. So the causal body, I don't see, you don't see. Subtle body, I see, you don't see. Gross body, I see, you see. Right. And that's the level of subtlety. Subtleness, right? So the vasanas, when they fructify, it will appear as a thought in the mind. That's when you will even know that this vasana was there. Otherwise, the thought will never come to your mind. I have given you the example many times, if you remember. My husband, no matter nothing ever, he never, even in his dream, he didn't think that anybody even mentions tea. I will say, actually, right now my throat is hurt. I'm like, oh, it would be nice to have a vodka. Because I have that vasana. I have the vasana of tea. But he didn't.
Right.
So the one who doesn't have that vasana will never get attracted towards that thing. The one who has vasana, at least, oh, it would be nice, if I could have a hot cup, or it would be something like that, thought will come. That's what you should know.
Okay. So the thought, the level varies. It's not.
Yeah. And vasanas are all our karmas that we have done. I told you about Papa and Punya, that Papa and Punya in subtle form is at the vasana level. Now what happens is, just like the GIC, you have a GIC in the bank, in 3 months it matures, in 6 months it matures. So every action, every Papa and every Punya fructifies at different times in our life. And when the Punya fructifies, there's something happens. I might win a lottery. My child might get married. I might get a grandchild. Whatever, something that makes me happy will happen, means know that your Punya has exhausted. That's why in, Samarth Ramdas in the Marathi Manache Shlok, he says that the joy you should consider as sorrow. You know what sorrow it is? My Punya karma is finished because the joy came. This was the greatest fear that I had when I was in Sandipani, because even to go to Sandipani, there is a huge amount of merit that is required. I'm not boasting. I'm telling you a fact.
Yeah.
A fact. And every day I would think, what if today this punya exhausts? What if therefore every morning Jagdishwara temple 6 to 6:30 was chanting. 4:45 we were there. First thing, thank you Lord, that whole night nothing happened, no phone call came. Thank you, let my punya not run out. Evening 6 o'clock satsang, again same Jagdishwara, thank you Lord, whole day went by, I wasn't sick. Thank you Lord, don't let my punya run out, don't. This is what I was praying. And when papa karma, then that disease will come. Doctor will tell you A1C is high, blood pressure is high, heart condition, blood is oozing inside, you know, oozing, there is oozing happening inside of the heart. If the valve doesn't close completely, blood oozes from one this thing to the other. And that's so now what is our position? So how do I get out of this? I don't identify with it. So, you know, how lucky I am, how blessed I am. You know, I got this, I don't jump up and down. And when sorrow comes, with patience, with dhairya, oh Lord, this has come, and no blame game. My own karma has now fructified. My own karma has given me this. Give me, in bhakti, you will say, oh Lord, I surrender to you. You give me the strength to bear this. Knowledge, that's why Jnani, Bhagavan says, you think you're independent, then go do on your own. Then Jnani, you have to understand, I am not the body. The dukkha has come to the body. I am not, that is Jnana. If you can do that, that is the highest. It's got nothing to do with me. Body is diseased. Okay, body has got A1C. Does Atma have A1C? Oh, no. Does Atma have a heart that the blood is oozing inside the heart? Atma doesn't have a heart. So it's got nothing to do with me. That's Jnana. And karma is to go, this is a result of my own karma. So I have to bear it. So let's bear it. That is how you get out of the bondage. If you get identified with that joy or sorrow, you are bound. You are bound to the next cycle of birth and death. And all this is just knowing.
Right.
Nothing.
Nothing.
It's very simple.
Yeah, very simple to say. Deceptively simple.
If the mind is purified enough, this should be extremely clear. It should be like absolutely as clear as mud, like they say. It should be absolutely clear. In a sattvic mind, these thoughts will be very easy. In a rajasic mind, there'll be questions. In a tamasic mind, there'll be no understanding. That's how it is. That's why 12 chapters, Bhagavan, first 1 to 6. Karma Yogi, that's where chapter 3, very, very important. Now, especially I'm doing it in the Balvihar class. That's very important for you guys. If you want to reach that stage, that's the foundation. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right. So we'll close for today.